This is the Crisscross Show. I'm back, and I have a packed episode for you today. So I'm going to give you my NFL picks for this weekend's games. I'm also going to give you a new NBA tiers, a new fly on the wall, and a new something, nothing, or everything. Anyways, enjoy. Okay, so I'm filming this Friday night, just a couple minutes after the Lakers game against Orlando. And I know I'm wearing a jersey because I just finished watching the game. But I'm going to show you another Lakers jersey, one of the most underrated jerseys. This was their earned jersey from last season. It's a pretty nice one. It's in resemblance to the Mba jerseys that the Lakers wore a couple years ago. I thought I'd show it. The Lakers did beat the Orlando Magic. I know the Orlando Magic have the worst record in the league, but again, it's a win, and nonetheless, I'm happy. So there you go. That's my jersey for today. Now back to the regular scheduled program. Okay, so first, I just want to apologize for the lighting. I have the light facing down on me kind of diagonally, so if you see it kind of cover my face, just know it's the lighting here in the room. But anyways, back to the regular scheduled program. There are 4 big NFL games this weekend. It is a divisional round. I'm really excited. A lot of the lines are actually really close. None of them are more than 6, which just shows how close and tight these games are expected to be played. So, starting with the Saturday games first, then I'll move on to the Sunday games. The first game, San Francisco versus Green Bay. The line currently is 5.5, plus minus 5.5. Green Bay is favored, minus 5.5. I'm actually going to go with San Francisco plus 5.5, but I'm going to go with Green Bay winning the game. Now, the reason why I say San Francisco plus 5.5 is because I think it's going to be a very close game. It's going to be cold in Green Bay. The ball gets more loose and slicker in the cold. I think that's going to be an issue for a team like Green Bay that likes to throw the ball. Now, I know last week we saw Josh Allen in the cold throw it really, really well, and his receivers caught it really, really well. Again, it's a different situation. I do believe that the game is going to be close. San Francisco is really good with the run game, and their defense is really, really good. Nick Bosa being cleared to play is big, and I think he and the defense are going to keep it really, really tight. I understand that San Francisco kind of lacks talent in the cornerback position on defense, and maybe Green Bay may try to exploit it early on, but I think San Francisco is going to be giving Aaron Rodgers a lot of problems. I know Kyle Shanahan normally doesn't like to bring in a lot of guys on the front line, but I do think that the game is going to be close. If Jimmy Garoppolo can make at least less than one mistake, maybe one mistake a game in this game, then they'll be fine. They'll be in it. Last week, he got a little careless with the ball, a little loose with the ball towards the end of that Dallas game, and that's why Dallas kind of crept back. But again, I think it's going to be close. I think Green Bay is going to win it by a late field goal by Mason Crosby, in my opinion. So anyways, I am going to go with San Francisco plus 5.5, but Green Bay is going to win the game. All right, the next game, Cincinnati versus Tennessee. Now, the line is currently at plus minus 3.5, with Tennessee favored minus 3.5. I'm actually going to go with Tennessee minus 3.5 because I just think that Tennessee is going to win the game outright. They're getting Derrick Henry back. I don't really know what that means too much. Is he going to be rusty? Is he not? I think Ryan Tannehill has been playing amazing football since Derrick Henry went out, and I think that's going to kind of carry on. Again, Cincinnati is on a hot streak, and they are coming in looking red hot. But I think once Tennessee starts pounding the ball more on the ground, they're going to take Joe Burrow out of the field. They're going to own time of possession, and it's just going to wear out on Cincinnati, and they're not going to have enough time to really get into, a groove of things. They're going to be more, their offense is going to be more off the field than on the field, and I think that's going to play with them. And I'm just going to go with Tennessee minus 3.5. Again, I said this before last week. I think this is Tennessee's year to really make it out of the AFC and really make a name for themselves in the playoffs this year. So Tennessee minus 3.5 for me. All right, the Sunday games. Buffalo and Kansas City. This is the marquee game of the weekend. Currently, the line is plus minus 1.5. Kansas City's obviously favored. Now, to be favored plus minus 1.5, they're expecting it to be a really close game, and it's kind of a toss-up game, if anything. I'm actually going to go with Buffalo plus 1.5 here. I'm going to go with Buffalo because I think this Buffalo team really, really, really wants to beat Kansas City. And I think they got the matchup they wanted in Kansas City in the second round. And that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to win the game. So I'm going to go with Buffalo plus 1.5 for that reason. Again, there's that famous picture of Stephon Diggs watching Kansas City celebrate their AFC championship. So I think they really, really want revenge. Again, I don't think Kansas City is going to give it up that easy. I think it's going to be a really tight game, but I just think Josh Allen in the end is going to make a name for himself in this game and prove himself that he is a big-time quarterback. So I'm going to go with Buffalo plus 1.5. Last game of the weekend is LA versus Tampa. Now the line is currently ±3. They're not giving us the half this time. They're just giving us just a straight up number. I'm actually going to go with LA +3. Now I'm going to go with LA +3 and winning the game. As I mentioned last week, I just think LA is the better overall team. Their defense is better. One thing that concerns me about Tampa Bay is that they've got a lot of injuries. I read a stat where Tampa Bay has played the most games in the past 2 years than any other NFL team. And again, they brought back essentially the same team. So a lot of those guys from last year are kind of wearing down. A lot of guys are hurt. Tampa Bay in their win last week, they won convincingly, but it was a little ugly at the beginning. And I just think that LA has the better overall team. They're healthier. They're getting healthier. Their defense was phenomenal against the Cardinals. I understand the Cardinals had some issues in the offense, but they just looked really good. And the last time we saw them play Tampa, they destroyed Tampa. I understand it wasn't LA and they're in Tampa Bay this time, but I think the weather is going to play no factor because it's warm in Tampa Bay. And I just think that LA, their defense is going to give Tom Brady issues, and their defense is going to focus on making Tom Brady move out of the pocket. If you do that, you're going to have a good chance because, again, we know Tom's kind of more of a slower quarterback, and if you put Tom under duress, he's going to make more mistakes. And again, Tom Brady doesn't really make mistakes, but if you make him under duress the entire game, he's going to make a mistake at least one time in the game. So again, I'm going to go with LA +3 and winning the game. So anyways, those are my NFL picks. I am making these picks at Friday night, like at around 9:30. So again, I'm hoping to upload this episode in the morning. Hopefully you're able to see it and see my picks and maybe disagree or agree to those picks. Anyways, up next is my NBA tiers. Okay, so my NBA tiers. You guys know I love this. I rank them in groups as opposed to just going 1 through 30. Again, it'd be easy to just rank the best records and the worst records from top to bottom. Okay, so the NBA tiers. Now at the bottom, I'm just going to keep it easy. They're called the Sad Boys. It's Orlando, Detroit, Houston, OKC. The bottom four in each of their conferences. Not much to really say about them. Again, Houston and OKC do have 14 wins apiece, so they're a little bit more respectable. But again, I think they're just really playing for the draft. I know OKC's 1-9 in their last 10 games. Orlando has not been playing well. Detroit, again, looks exciting, but they are kind of bad. And Houston, I mean, give or take, they have a good night and they have a bad night. All right, the tier above them. Now, this is a really, really packed group. I think my second most packed group of these tiers. It is called the meh group. Like, they're just meh. They're they're cool, but they're not cool. Like, no one really cares about you. So those teams are New Orleans, San Antonio, Sacramento, Portland, Indiana, Atlanta, Washington, and Minnesota. Now, Atlanta did move up a ranking. I do believe I did push Washington a little down, and I think I pushed Minnesota down as well. Now, I moved Atlanta up because they're on a 3-game win streak. They look a little bit better. They beat Milwaukee, and they just recently beat Miami, so they're kind of catching a groove now, and they're playing a little bit better. Indiana had 2 good wins against the Lakers and Golden State, so they're in that group, but again, their record is meh. Minnesota, they're healthy, they're not healthy. I can't really tell. They're just more of a meh team. They're kind of riding around 500, but they've just been playing meh all year. All the other teams, again, they're below 500. They're just kind of meh. No one really cares about them, whatnot. So that's why I just call them the meh group. All right, the teams above them. Now I'm going to call this the danger zone because I think these teams are on they're a 2-game losing streak away from going to the meh group. So this is the danger zone. These are the teams that had a lot of promise but have kind of really disappointed this year. So those teams are LA, Boston, the Knicks, the other LA team, and Utah. Now Utah, I think, is currently 4th in the Western Conference, but they've had a 2-game losing streak, and I think they are 3-7 in their last 10 games. They have not been playing well. The Clippers, again, riding around 500. I understand they've got injuries with Paul George being out and Kawhi Leonard probably being out the entire year. They've got guys in and out of the lineup. They're in the danger zone of a couple-game losing streak away from just, really selling out the season. The Knicks have been a disappointment. The Boston Celtics, they're good for 1 week, then they're bad the next week. So again, it's kind of depends what depends what kind of Boston we get that week. Would depend if they're good or not. LA, as we know, they're currently 23-23. I really want them to be better, but they're just playing really bad defense. Like, they're not even playing a defense, if anything. So that's why they're all in the danger zone, because these teams are all at least a 2 or 3 game losing streak away from, essentially their season being over. All right, now the teams above them, now these teams are more of the happier teams. These teams are the promising teams. So it is Dallas, Denver, Toronto, Cleveland, Philadelphia, Charlotte, and Memphis. Now you may say, why Toronto? Toronto's 21-21. Well, Toronto wasn't expected to be really good this year, and they had a losing record at the very beginning of the season, but they kind of caught up, and they look really, really promising. Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, all those other guys are playing really, really good basketball, and I think that they're promising, even though I thought they were going to sell this season out. Dallas and Denver have been playing pretty good. They're getting their guys back. They're starting to get more chemistry in there, and they're starting to really just prove that they are these good teams that, they were set out to be. Memphis, again, promising young team. Looks really good right now. We'll see what happens in the playoffs. Charlotte has been playing well. Philadelphia, as of recently, has been looking a little better. Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid have been, having better chemistry with each other. Cleveland, again, Garland, Kevin Love, Jared Allen, those guys have been playing really, really good. So that's why they are all in the promising area. Now, we're getting to our top 2 tier teams, our top 2 tiers of teams. This one, the second tier team, is called or are called the contenders. Now, these teams are teams that are going to be contending in the Eastern Conference and Western Conference playoffs. The teams that I think are going to be in the semifinals or the Eastern Conference or Western Conference finals. So these teams are Golden State, Chicago, Brooklyn, Milwaukee. That's it. I think Golden State has been playing good. They can be better. But again, they're missing Draymond Green. They've got some stuff going on. Clay's, trying to get back into form. Not playing really, really well. But I think when they're healthy, they are contenders. Chicago, again, still first in the East. Brooklyn, James Harden and Kyrie can hold it off while KD sits out. And once KD comes back, we know how Kevin Durant is. He's just phenomenal. He's always going to keep them in the conversation for contenders. Milwaukee, I moved them down a little bit because they are 4-6 in their last 10 games. And they're still the defending champions, so I still got to give them some love for contenders. Now, the top tier is actually called the favorites, and these 2 teams are the teams that, as of right now, I expect them to be in the NBA Finals, which are Phoenix and Miami. Phoenix, again, still does not have 10 losses, and they've played about 40, 41, 42 games, and they've just been playing phenomenal. They can plug and chug anyone on that lineup, and it'll work. Miami, same thing. They literally plug anyone in the starting lineup, and it seems to work. They seem to do really, really well with undrafted players. And again, they're playing really, really well, other than tonight's loss to Atlanta. But anyways, those are my NBA tiers. Let me know what you think. I think these tiers are really good and really accurate, at least as of right now and this week. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, whether you disagree or agree with me in my NBA tiers for this week. Anyways, up next is my fly on the wall. Okay, so this segment is called Fly on the Wall. Now, this is where I give you a interview and I give you my thoughts on what was said in that interview. So, the interview was from Frank Vogel after the Pacers game. Now, before I show you the interview, or at least a little segment that I want to get out of the interview, the Lakers played the Pacers on Wednesday night. The Lakers had as much of a 14-point lead against the Pacers, I think at 2 different points in the game. I think in the second quarter and the third quarter. And they blew it and ended up losing by 7. Now, Frank Vogel also made a controversial call by sitting Russell Westbrook in the last couple of minutes. Now, I'll let you hear what Frank Vogel said first.
Frank, you opted to go with Russ on the bench at the end of the game. What were you looking for there? What was the thinking behind that choice?
Yeah, playing the guys I thought were going to win the game.
Okay, so Frank Vogel said that he went with the players that he thought were going to win the game. Now, I agree with him when he said that. Now, I agree with him because, as we've all seen, if you watch all the Laker games like I do, that Russell Westbrook, in the final 5 minutes of a game, in a close game, makes a lot of mistakes. Now, he either makes a mistake on offense where he's rushing too fast and just kind of lets the ball go. Again, I was watching the game today against Orlando, and Russell Westbrook made a lot of careless mistakes and turned the ball over. He also misses his defensive assignments a lot on defense, and it's really unnecessary sometimes. Sometimes when he leaves the corner 3 wide open for no reason, they end up, really paying for it when the guy makes the shot. Now, again, Frank Vogel is known as a defensive coach, and he likes players to play defense, which is why Austin Reeves has been playing a lot more minutes in the fourth quarter because he puts effort on defense. Taylor Horton-Tucker, he drives me nuts, but he plays defense, and he gives it his all on the defensive end. And again, that's what Frank Vogel loves to see. Frank Vogel wants to see players play defense. Again, since Frank Vogel's been on the Lakers the past 3 years, the first year, I think they were top 10 in defense. I don't know exactly where they finished. And last year, they finished number 1 rated defense. So again, Frank Vogel puts his foot down on defense. And again, Russell Westbrook plays defense when he wants to. And a lot of the time, he doesn't want to because he wants to save that energy for the offensive end. Now, I do like what Frank Vogel did, and I do encourage him to do it again because, again, if you keep enabling Russ, you keep keeping him in the game, and you don't really sit him out, he's just going to continue to do what he's been doing. And I encourage him to do that again, especially with Russell Westbrook, who is very careless with the ball sometimes and tries to really do it by himself and really tries to be a solo act. I think doing this and humbling him a little bit more will only be better for the team, especially if they have to keep him past the trade deadline, which honestly is starting to look like they're going to keep him past the trade deadline. Again, less Russ equals more wins. And again, during that game, Russell Westbrook was a minus 18 and plus minus. He went 5 for 17 on the field. And again, he was barely even playing any defense. So again, thankfully, Frank Vogel, who's apparently finally given the keys to do what he wants with Russell Westbrook, sat him out and said, hey, I'm going to go with these guys and I'm going to just, live with the results. So again, I applaud Frank Vogel. I don't applaud the front office for finally giving him the keys to do that. But I applaud Frank Vogel, and I hope he continues to do that when he sees Russ make mistakes. Anyways, I'm done with this segment. I'm going to jump into something, nothing, or everything. Something, nothing, and everything next. Okay, so this segment is called Something, Nothing, Everything. So again, I give you 3 things. One is going to be something, one's going to be nothing, one's going to be everything. So, starting with the first one. Draymond Green being out for a couple of weeks. Is this something, nothing, or everything? I think this is something. I don't think this is everything because the Warriors still have Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. And they have Steve Kerr, who loves to move the ball around, so I think they'll be fine there. But I do believe this is something because I read a crazy stat, and I'll post it here as well. When Draymond Green plays this season, the Warriors are 28-6. When he doesn't play, they are 4-7. Now again, it's a small sample size when he doesn't play, but if you watch a couple of Warriors games without Draymond Green, you know that they don't move the ball as much. and Draymond Green holds his foot down on defense. And again, he calls out those defensive plays, and he's really good, and he's really strategic with his defense. And again, I just think that he really helps them out. And again, he's a really good passer as well. He's underrated. He gives Steph Curry a lot of assists and sets screens for him a lot. So again, they are going to definitely miss Draymond Green. But I don't think it's everything, because again, they still have Steph Curry. They just still have Klay Thompson. They still have Steve Kerr's mind of moving the ball and everything. So this is something for the Warriors, but it's not everything, because again, Draymond Green, he's really valuable to the team, and they are going to need him down the stretch. They are going to get him back at some point this season, but for these next couple of games, it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve for them to have in not having Draymond Green. So again, this is something for the Warriors. All right. Recent NBA scuffles. So a little bit of petty talk, a little bit of arguments. There was one with Joel Embiid a couple weeks ago. There was one with Cade Cunningham pointing at, a Phoenix Suns player. There was a couple of other scuffles. They've been happening a lot recently, like players just being petty to each other and, really talking to each other. I think yesterday there was an incident with the Pacers player and Gary Payton II from the Warriors. And I think those mean nothing. So I'm going to go with nothing there, because the NBA is going to try to sell us with these little scuffles and, post the next time these teams play and say, oh, get your popcorn ready, these teams are going to play. And really, it means nothing. The players are just petty. Again, they all do it because of social media. It's fun to really act cool on social media. And a lot of these players, like to sell it on social media, because again, it makes them money, and again, it gets some viewers and whatnot. I think these NBA scuffles mean nothing. I think there was a guy not too long ago, the one that had a scuffle with Joel Embiid. He said, no one in this league really fights. He's not going to fight. No one's going to fight. You can't really, no one's really going to fight. It's all just talk, and it's all just, for attention and shows. The one recently with Isaiah Stewart and LeBron, I think that was the closest. But again, LeBron wasn't going to fight him. LeBron's like, no, I'm not going to fight. But Isaiah Stewart was trying to act like a tough guy and whatnot. So again, NBA scuffles, they mean nothing. Really take it with a grain of salt. I like watching NBA games, but when I see those scuffles, I just roll my eyes, because I know nothing's going to come of it. And I'm not even excited. I don't want to watch players fight. I want to watch them play basketball. I don't care too much about the fights. If I wanted to watch a fight, I'd watch UFC or boxing for that hand. So, again, it means nothing to me. All right, Nick Bosa playing for the 49ers this weekend. Is that something, nothing, or everything? Again, I think it's everything. There was speculation that Nick Bosa wasn't going to play. And again, we know that Nick Bosa is crazy on the defensive end. He's one of the 49ers anchors on defense. And now that he is playing, I do believe that it makes the game a lot closer than what it was meant to be. Because he makes a lot of good plays. He basically has to be double covered when he's playing on the defensive end, because again, he's just so big and strong. And I do believe he's going to give Aaron Rodgers some issues, and he's going to put Aaron Rodgers under a lot of pressure. Again, I don't know how healthy he is. If he plays the entire game or plays a lot of snaps, Green Bay is going to be in trouble, and they're going to have to get the football out of Aaron Rodgers' hand quickly, because again, Nick Bosa is crazy on defense. This is everything for the 49ers if they want to win. If they didn't have Nick Bosa, I'm pretty sure the line for the spread would be a lot bigger. But since he is playing, I do believe that they did shrink the line. Again, the line is still in Green Bay's favor, but I think with Nick Bosa playing, it just shrinks the line a little bit more, because he's going to pressure Aaron Rodgers, and he is everything for the 49ers on their defense, on the defensive end. He is their best player on defense. So again, Nick Bosa playing is everything for the 49ers. Anyways, that is my segment of Something, Nothing, or Everything. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, this is the conclusion of my episode. I'm really excited for this weekend. A bunch of NFL games. The Lakers at Miami. I'm really excited for this weekend. Hopefully you are too. Hopefully you catch some football games. And, we can kind of come back next week and talk about those games and look forward to the NFL's AFC and NFC championship games. So anyways, have a good weekend, and let's watch some football and some NBA basketball games, and let's look forward to the weekend here. So there we go. Anyways, I'll see you guys on the next one.